Now we'll take a look at views of objects where the measurements have been included on that 3D object. And we're just going to work on transferring those measurements over to our sketches of the views. So if a 3D shape has measurements on the diagram, then the views should have those measurements too. So for example, I'm going to do just the front view of this object here. So let's look at the front view of this object. And what we're going to see is a long rectangle here, side by side with what looks like a square. And we can confirm that that's a square by seeing that it's 20 centimeters along the far side and 15 centimeters along the front of this green rectangular side, which means that it's 5 centimeters along that side there. And we know it's 5 centimeters tall because we're told the height over on that other side of the diagram. So now we have our sort of dimensions figured out. Let's sketch the view of this front. Well, so it's a long rectangle, and I'm going to label those dimensions. It's 5 centimeters high, and it's 15 centimeters long here. And then the second section of this front view is this 5 by 5 square. This is 5 centimeters across there. And so that is our front view with the measurements put on the view. In this final example, we're going to come across a slightly different shape because it's a real-life object, and it's a coffee table here. But it's pretty rectangular, and so it should make sketching the views simple enough for our purposes. So we're going to sketch 3 different views, and we're not told what views to sketch, so we actually get some choice in that matter. But just to be consistent with what we've been doing so far, I'm going to do this front view, the side view, and the top. So front, side, and top. So let's start with the front view, which I'll do in blue here. We have the dimensions going along the bottom, and you notice that there's a little leg action going on along the bottom of the coffee table that we're going to have to capture in our sketch. So this front view is going to go down like that. There's going to be a little leg that doesn't go up very far, and then it runs along the bottom to the other leg, and then up to the top. Now what we got to make sure we capture is the fact that there's this hole in the middle of the table here. And so our sketch has to capture that. And I'm trying to keep these distances. It's a sketch, so it just has to be close. So I'm just trying to keep the distances roughly equal because it looks like all these distances are roughly equal in the diagram. And so now what we have to do is we have to include the dimensions. Just the dimensions were given. So we know that it's 51 inches along the front of the coffee table, and we know it's 18 inches high. And that's it for the front. That's all we have to do. The side is going to be very similar, so let's do the side in a light blue. You notice it's a thinner view of the foot because you're looking at the plank that's making the foot edge on. So around the outside, it's going to be a similar but thinner foot, and the whole side of the table is also it's not as long as the front of the table. So that means it's going to end earlier and then go up to the top. Perfect. And then you notice we have this window, and again, because we're looking at the planks side on, they're pretty thin on the sides, but then that regular thickness on the top and bottom. So I really want to capture that in my sketch. The only dimensions we have to add are the 27 inches that's shown along the top here, and again the 18 inches of the height. So finally we have the top view, which is a really nice simple view because it's a rectangular table and all we're going to see is the front, or is the, sorry, I should say the top of the table, that rectangular top. And so I'll try to make it in my sketch the same distances and that I've had earlier. So this along the long side is 51 inches, and then along this side here is the 27 inches. And that looks pretty good. 27 is close to half of 51, and so does that 27-inch side look close to half of the long side? Yeah, I'd say so. And you know, it's not perfectly straight, but that's okay. These are sketches, and they just have to be close enough to get the general idea.